Hello, this is Fanfiction Spot coming with another part 4 of What If Naruto Had a Gaming System or Solo Leveling. Please like and subscribe, and without any delay let's get started. Chapter 4, Training Days. After classes. Training Field, Konohagakure Shinobi Academy. It was a rather pouting Naruto who stood in front of Iruka after the academy was over for the day. He didn't like the fact that he had been punished for something that Mizuki-sensei had done. Why the pout, Naruto? Iruka asked. It was Mizuki-sensei who pushed the vase over and broke it. Naruto grumbled, it almost brained me to be a dot. Iruka smiled. I know, Naruto, but I just needed the excuse to put you in detention so I could train you in the Bunshin no Jutsu alternatives, as authorized by Hokage-sama. This cheered Naruto up immensely. Yada? I knew Jiji would come through for me. Naruto, you should show the Hokage more respect than that. Iruka chided him mildly. He's been my Jiji to me longer than he's been the Hokage. Naruto replied, he was the old man in a funny hat that helped me out when the orphanage got tough on me. It's kinda hard to break the habit. Besides, I think he likes being called Jiji. Iruka conceded both of Naruto's points. If the Hokage wanted to make Naruto stop calling him Jiji, he would have done so a long time ago. Okay, moving on to the lesson. Iruka reached into a pocket on his Chunin's vest and pulled out a small square of paper, which he then handed to Naruto. What's this? Naruto asked as he inspected the paper dubiously. This, my student, is chakra paper. Iruka replied as he went into lecture mode. As you may remember from your classes, a shinobi can use all kinds of ninjutsu, but with the elemental ninjutsu, most shinobi tend to have elemental affinities. This means that there are jutsu you will naturally find easier to use and consume less chakra to use. Okay, cool. Naruto commented, so, what does this have to do with my problem with the Bunshin no Jutsu? I'm getting to that. Iruka replied, there are a considerable number of Bunshin no Jutsu in the world, of which the illusory Bunshin is the least useful, but easiest to learn, for most people. More chakra-intensive clone techniques exist, of which the most basic are elemental clones, the Mizu Bunshin and Iwa Bunshin. If your affinity matches up, I'll teach you how to use them. Alright, what do I do, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked excitedly. Finally, a way for him to learn a clone jutsu that didn't come out looking like he was dying. Channel chakra a small amount only, into the paper. Iruka directed him, if it crinkles, you are a lightning affinity. If it gets wet, you are a water affinity. If it crumbles, you are an earth affinity. If it catches fire, you are a fire affinity, and if it is cut, you have a wind affinity. Yosha, let's go, Naruto declared and then carefully channeled some of his chakra into the strip of paper, which did two things. First, it cut in half, and then both halves crumbled slightly. A primary wind affinity, with a weak earth sub-affinity. Iruka said with a nod, a good combination of elements. Why's that, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked. Wind is a rare element in Konoha. Heck, it's a rare element in the entire world. Iruka explained, it is known as the war element as it is able to attack and defend with equal ease, at the same time even. The downside is that it takes a lot of training to master this element. That sounds kick-ass, Naruto said excitedly. It is, rather. Iruka replied with a smile. Earth, on the other hand, offers incredible defensive capabilities, allowing you to reshape the landscape to suit you, set traps hidden beneath the surface, and even some pretty nice offensive techniques as well. It is also one of the easiest elements to learn. Why's that? Naruto asked with a confused look on his face. Earth is solid, unchanging, and only moves slowly. Iruka explained, it doesn't change much by nature and is thus easy to control. Wind is constantly shifting, changing, and taking different forms, which is why it is so hard to use. I've never thought about it like that. Naruto remarked, anyway, I have an earth affinity, so are you gonna teach me the Iwa Bunshin? Yep. Iruka nodded, now let's see, what the... He began searching his pockets and pouches for something before sighing in exasperation. Somehow, I seem to have misplaced the scroll for the Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Iruka said in resignation, I'll have to go off to the shinobi section of the library and see if I left it there. While I'm gone, you can learn the tree climbing exercise. How will climbing trees help me? Naruto asked in confusion. Without your hands. Watch. Iruka went over to the academy building and made the hand sign before, much to Naruto's amazement, walking straight up the wall to the top of the building and back down to the ground. So cool. Naruto exclaimed, his eyes shining in amazement. Learning tree climbing is one of the things that your Jonin-sensei usually teaches you after graduation, as Tenten said. Iruka went into lecture mode again. Your feet are the hardest part of your body to channel chakra to, and so if you can channel chakra there, you can channel chakra anywhere on your body. In addition, it slightly builds your reserves up while doing it. Iruka led Naruto to a tree and passed him a kunao. Climb one of these trees and use the kunao to mark your progress. The scar-faced Chunin directed his student, Keep your mind clear and do not get frustrated. As I taught you with sealing items in scrolls, experiment with how much chakra to use on each foot. Too little and you'll slide off, too much and you'll be pushed away from the tree. Gotcha, Iruka-sensei. Naruto nodded with a grin. With a final admonishment to work hard, Iruka vanished in a puff of chakra smoke. Now then. Naruto turned his attention to the skill creation windows he had been ignoring while Iruka-sensei had been talking to him. Skill created. Natural Primary Wind Affinity, Passive, LV1, 00.00 EXP. The affinity of wind is rare in the elemental nations, although more are born in Kaze no Kuni than anywhere else. Even those who possess the affinity rarely train it because of the sheer difficulty in mastering it compared to other elements. For those with the determination and perseverance to master it, however, the wind element can be a weapon of unparalleled power and subtlety. Strong against lightning, weak against fire. Passively reduces the amount of chakra for Fudan Jutsu by 1%. Passively increases the effectiveness of Fudan Jutsu by 1%. Skill created. Secondary Earth Affinity, Passive, LV1, 00.00 EXP. Earth affinities are not uncommon in the elemental nations, although Ishi no Kuni and Suke no Kuni are the ones who have more born there than any other country. Earth ninjutsu is seen as primarily an element of defense, but in the right hands one can make traps, launch counterattacks, and even alter the landscape itself. Strong against fire, water. Weak against lightning, wind. Passively decreases the chakra cost of Doton Jutsu by 1%. Passively increases the effectiveness of Doton Jutsu by 1%. Kick-ass. Naruto smirked before spotting the quest window that floated to one side. Quest alert. Climb to the top. Iruka-sensei has given you the task of attempting the tree climbing exercise. Do your best to fulfill his expectations. Quest objective. Reach level 2 of the tree climbing exercise before Iruka-sensei returns. Quest completion reward. Plus 500 EXP, Doton, IWA Bunshin no Jutsu Scroll, plus 100 reputation with Amino Iruka. Quest failure, Doton, IWA Bunshin no Jutsu Scroll. Accept. Y/N. Another quest that I can't ignore. Meh. Naruto shrugged as he tapped the Y button. He was going to do this anyway, so the reward was just icing on the cake. Placing one foot on the nearest tree, Naruto made the rem hand sign as Iruka-sensei had done and started channeling a trickle of chakra to his foot, which actually seemed to resist the energy. Gradually and carefully raising the amount of chakra he sent into his foot, he stopped when his foot adhered to the tree bark. Okay, that's about a quarter of what I use for my improved version of the Henge no Jutsu. Now for the other foot. Naruto thought. Quickly reproducing the same amount of chakra in his other foot before placing it on the tree, Naruto then started running up the tree, only to fall off after 2 steps. What the hell? Naruto yelped as he fell on his butt. Damn it. Let's try that again. It took more than a few false starts, but eventually, Naruto managed to run up the tree for a few steps before falling down again. After a few repetitions of this, he finally created the skill. Skill created. As a result of repeated actions, you have created the tree climbing skill. Tree climbing. Passive/active, LV1, 23.99. The tree climbing exercise is one of the first chakra control exercises a fresh genin learns after graduation from the academy. Fulfilling several roles, this training exercise is the forerunner of the more difficult water walking exercise, as well as laying the foundation for the tree jumping skill. Passively increases chakra control by 1%. Passively raises CP by 1%. Actively allows the user to stick to any solid surface that is not a chakra repellent. Costs 15 CP/minute. Yada. Naruto cheered. Now to start building this skill up. Apparently, Iruka-sensei wasn't kidding about negative feelings dragging him down. What he had neglected to tell Naruto was that feeling confident actually helped him do better at it. The blonde orphan was giving thanks that, for whatever reason, he had monstrous stamina. Stamina 35 for the win. Naruto thought as he finally managed to get halfway up the tree. He noted the half a dozen or so windows that floated around him, all bearing similar messages. Feel the burn the feeling? Your STR had gone up by 1. Keep on keeping on. Your STA has gone up by 1. 3 each, so his already impressive STA was at 38 now, while his STR was at about 18 or 19. At this rate, he would go all the way up to STA 40 before he leveled up. Speaking of which, tree climbing has leveled up? Level 1 to 2. Hell yeah. Naruto grinned. Let's see how far I can get it before Iruka-sensei gets back. This was typical of Naruto. He saw people who did just enough and no more than that as boring, unambitious, idiots. When he had the choice, he always tried to exceed expectations. When Iruka shunshined back into the clearing, Naruto was still going strong and had just managed to get to level 3 in tree climbing. Naruto, you can stop now. Iruka called in amusement. He could tell that the excitable boy hadn't stopped since he had started, yet he was barely winded. "How'd I do?" Naruto asked with a slight bit of smugness as he waltzed down the tree, only slipping part of the way down. "Not bad for an hour's work," Iruka said approvingly. "Sorry it took so long. Somebody tried to book out all the copies of the IWA Bunshin no Jutsu and I had to mete out some educational guidance to sort things out." Naruto shivered at the cold tone that his favorite teacher had taken. If he had to guess, the boy would say that whoever had gotten on Iruka's bad side, not something Naruto had ever aspired to do. "Well, at least you managed to get a copy," Naruto said with a cheerfulness he didn't really feel. Someone was trying to get in his way, again. How the hell did these people get their information? He had only asked Iruka-sensei about an alternative to the Bunshin yesterday. "I did. Here you go Naruto." Iruka handed him a scroll that was lined with brown lines. "Congratulations. Climb to the top quest completed? You have successfully reached level 2 of tree climbing before Iruka returned. Quest completion reward, plus 500 EXP, Doton, IWA Bunshin no Jutsu scroll, plus 100 reputation with Umino Iruka." Naruto subtly closed the window as he grinned at the scroll. He was just about to open it when an Umbu wearing a cat mask shunshined into the training field in a swirl of leaves. "Uzumaki Naruto, the Hokage requests your presence at once." The masked shinobi stated. "Please accompany me to the Hokage Tower." In the middle of after-school detention, Iruka asked with a frown. Hokage-sama arranged the materials to be taught here himself. What could need Naruto's immediate presence? "Nico-san. I am sorry, Umino-san, but something disturbing has occurred that requires Uzumaki-san's presence." The Umbu replied. "Rest assured, it will not take long to resolve, but it does require haste to do so." "Okay then." Iruka sighed. "Off you go with Nico-san." Naruto nodded and walked over to the Umbu, who grabbed his shoulder and vanished with him in another swirl of leaves. The feeling of being carried along in a shunshin was surprisingly unpleasant. Naruto felt himself move at fast speeds, faster than he could run, and he developed tunnel vision from that. By the time he and the Umbu materialized in front of the Hokage Tower, he had made a note to work on his awareness so that didn't happen again. "Are you alright, Uzumaki-san?" Nico asked. "Side-along shunshins are more turbulent than regular ones." "Yay, I'm good," Naruto replied as his stomach churned slightly. "I think I'll walk next time though." "Understandable." Nico nodded. "Now, let's get you to Hokage-sama." In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen rubbed his eyes tiredly as he waited for Naruto to show up. This would not be a pleasant talk for the boy. Sitting in a pair of chairs were members of the Konoha regular police, the only police force left in Konoha after the Uchiha massacre. Made up of civilians with bare-bones training in subduing other civilians, they had been overshadowed by the Uchiha military police and had tried to replace them, only to be shot down rather firmly by Sarutobi. Several prominent and concerned citizens pretty much controlled the regular police and he knew that almost all of them hated Naruto for what he carried within him. Today was merely another expression of that hatred. "Gigi," Naruto called as he entered, "ready to turn the hat over to me yet?" "Oh ho ho ho." Sarutobi chuckled. "Sadly no, Naruto-kun. Take a seat. These two gentlemen have some unpleasant news for you." Naruto threw a quizzical look at the two men as he sat down. They were very ordinary-looking people, utterly forgettable faces, average height, and the like. They wore the brown and green uniforms of the regular police and carried the jut of their rank from a hoop on their belts. "Uzumaki-san," one of the officers said, a badly concealed sneer concealed in his words. "I regret to inform you that someone has broken into your apartment and vandalized it." Again, Naruto sighed. "How badly vandalized is it?" "Every piece of furniture has been smashed to kindling, every wall has rude expletives carved or painted onto their surfaces, all books and scrolls have been urinated upon and every door and window in the apartment has been smashed as well." The other man recited. "Whoever carried this out was very thorough." "Aw man." Naruto groaned. "My landlord is gonna be pissed at me for this." "Indeed he is, Uzumaki-san," the first man said. He pulled a piece of paper from his pouch and handed it to Naruto. "This is a notice of eviction from your landlord, effective immediately." "What?" Naruto yelped. "A man." "Naruto-kun, do you have your wallet?" Sarutobi asked. "The police claim it wasn't in the wreckage." "Gama-chan never goes more than a hand's length away from me," Naruto said as he pulled the toad design wallet from his pocket. "Good. That's something at least." Sarutobi nodded before turning his attention to the policeman. "Find out who did this or I'll have a new military police force set up within the next month." "Understood." "Hi, Hokage-sama," the apparent senior man replied shakily before leading his fellow policeman out of the door. Almost immediately, Naruto's cheerful facade sagged slightly as he leaned back in the chair with another sigh. "I'll have to go back to the apartment to check if my hidden stash of books and scrolls is among the ruined books," he grumbled. Nico, go to Naruto-kun's former apartment and search it for any hidden books or scrolls. Sarutobi ordered. If you can, try and determine how many people conducted such disgraceful actions against Naruto-kun. Hi, Hokage-sama. I'll depart at once. Nico replied from her hidden position, making Naruto start. He hadn't noticed her entering the room at all. Mentally, he upped his respect for Umbu-level stealth techniques. Now then Naruto-kun, this presents me with something of a dilemma, as all rentable accommodations in Konoha have registered a disinclination to rent property to prospective tenants who are victims of a campaign of vandalism and discrimination. Sarutobi said with a sigh. The actual phrasing of the landlord's union was that demon brat isn't getting into our houses, but Sarutobi saw no reason to tell this to Naruto. I can always camp out, Jiji. Naruto suggested, it would be good practice for field work once I graduate. Sarutobi blinked at that. Naruto did make a good point, but he was not about to send his surrogate grandson out to a field to pitch a tent if he had any say in the matter. An admirable suggestion, Naruto-kun, but I believe several of my Umbu would object to such an arrangement, as well as myself. Sarutobi replied diffidently, as it so happens, there is a block of apartments in my possession that is suited to your needs, but it has not been lived in a considerable length of time, so it will have to be cleaned first. Whereabouts is it? Naruto asked. It's on the edge of the clan district. Sarutobi replied. Oh, you mean the former Umbu HQ? Naruto nodded, prompting three jaws to drop in reaction as Sarutobi and the two remaining Umbu took this in. Naruto-kun, do tell how you know that. Sarutobi asked carefully once he had reattached his jaw. It was a secret. Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise. Most people in Konoha can tell where Umbu HQ is by the large amount of suspiciously polite, but firm guards saying private residence only to anybody who goes close to the building despite the apartments for rent sign outside the door. Sarutobi felt like bashing his head against the oaken surface of his desk at this. I'll have a word with Umbu Commander Saro about a less obvious cover story. To return to the point, will that building suffice for you? Wait, I get the run of the building? Naruto asked. As nobody lives there, not even a building supervisor, yes. Sarutobi replied, I have a cleaning crew making the building habitable as we speak, but it will not be ready for a couple of hours. Oh, okay. Naruto nodded, that gives me time to learn the IWA Bunshin no Jutsu. So you have an earth affinity? The old man inquired. I'm actually a primary wind affinity, sub-earth affinity. Naruto replied. A good pair of elements. Sarutobi approved. Iruka-kun told me you are thinking about buying weapons after graduation. Yay, a pair of Tanto and a Kodaki. Naruto replied, it's going to cost a lot to buy them though. I just hope I'm not on the same team as Suzuki team after graduation. Oh. Sarutobi invited Naruto to continue. Suzuki team doesn't like me much and I don't really like him all that much either. Naruto explained, and if we're on the same team, we won't get along very well, meaning our Jonin sensei will probably stick to D ranks until we get our teamwork up to scratch, which is to say, never, so it'll take forever to save up enough to buy a half-decent set of weapons. The Hokage nodded in acknowledgement of his surrogate grandson's point. Teamwork was strongly emphasized throughout the entirety of the academy and Naruto was far from stupid. He was a bit slow on the uptake sometimes, but he was more than able to put two and two together. The sad thing was that, regardless of academic standings, Naruto was highly likely to be put on the same team as Suzuki. The Inoshikacho were to be reformed in this generation by the three clan heirs. A tracking team was to be formed comprised of the heirs of the Hyuga, Abarame, and Inuzuka, leaving Uchiha Suzuki, Harano Sakura, and Naruto as a heavy assault team. No other teams were expected to pass the real Genin test. We'll see how things pan out at graduation. The Hokage said aloud, things are not set in stone as of yet, so do your best and I will be willing to hear who you would like to be teamed up with, as well as the reasons why. Naruto looked confused. Sarutobi decided to elaborate. When graduation rolls around, the Academy Sensei sends me a list of proposed teams based on compatible abilities and skills. I am also required to consider requests from the parents of students for specific team assignments. He explained, I then gather the Jonin sensei and I have to hear requests from them for specific students they might wish to have included on their teams. The entire thing is then a question of compromise between academy scores, parental requests, the Jonin sensei requests as well as reality. Reality. Naruto frowned. Do you know a tradition about what happens with the rookie of the year, top kunoichi and dead last? Sarutobi asked. They're put on a team. Naruto scowled, I'm the dobe. Sakura-chan is the top kunoichi and Suzuki team is the rookie of the year. How did you find out about that? The old man asked curiously. It wasn't exactly a secret per se, but it was usually concealed from academy students so they couldn't fudge their scores to get on or off a specific team. I heard about it. Naruto shrugged. The civilians were talking about who Uchiha-sama would be teamed up with. Not for the first time, the Sandaime felt like throttling the civilians who had loose lips. Well then, now that you know about it, let us explore the reason for it. The Hokage side, the original reason the tradition was started was so that the two students who excelled could help bring up the skills of the dead last. Over the years, it was instituted as an immutable facet of the graduation process, which is a ridiculous thing to do. I can see why it was done the first time, but why is it made a permanent arrangement? Naruto frowned as he considered it. Because it proved to be an effective setup, at first anyway. Sarutobi replied, the first dozen years produced very good shinobi that went on to advance to Chunin and then Jonin. After that, the wars interfered. People died too soon, before they had a chance to prove themselves or learn more. The entire system was ultimately proven to work, by me. Huh. Naruto looked confused. My students, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya, the so-called Densetsu no Sunin were the most powerful shinobi of their generation. Sarutobi explained, they were strong enough, together, to hold off Sanshou no Hanzo, Hanzo the Salamander, an S-rank shinobi from a Megakure once they reached Jonin. Whenever I try to abolish the tradition, the Academy points to them as a defense against it, despite Orochimaru's subsequent descent into insanity and betrayal. Wow. The look of amazement on Naruto's face was utterly unfeigned. To apply reality to this situation, it is very rare that three shinobi of such potential are put on the same team, so it is actually a very silly tradition to keep up. Sarutobi continued, moreover, you and Sasuke do not get along. What about Haruno Sakura? What do you think will happen if she is added to the mix as she is now? Naruto knew he was being asked for an honest opinion of her, leaving his crush aside. Sakura-chan will likely fangirl over Sasuke and put me down, hoping to gain Sasuke's approval. He said reluctantly. He liked Sakura, but knew how she would act. He wasn't blind to her faults. I agree that it's a likely scenario. Sarutobi nodded. Now think about how teamwork will suffer with that kind of group dynamic. Not a pleasant scenario, is it? I have got to get my grades up. Naruto moaned. On occasion, the grade angle is ignored in favor of balance. Sarutobi sighed, you may not have noticed, but it is rare that the Rookie of the Year, Top Kunoichi and Dead Last are wholly of shinobi or civilian origin. Still, the consensus is to group those from shinobi clans together as they are generally superior to those from civilian families. There are exceptions, such as Jiraiya, Higurashi Tenten and Rock Lee. I've met Tenten. Naruto nodded. She did mention someone called Lee. Isn't he the one who was given an exemption to graduate despite the fact he can't use nin or genjutsu? Sarutobi noticed the slightly bitter way Naruto said that and internally winced. Aloud he said, yes. He is an exceptional taijutsu user, just as Tenten is well on her way to being an expert weapon mistress, with nigh unparalleled skill with shurikenjutsu. Jiraiya is one of the most powerful shinobi on active duty at the moment and was the person who taught the Yondaime Hokage all he knew. So you see, there is no bias against civilians in Konoha, just a bias against anyone who doesn't pull their own weight. I see. Naruto didn't understand everything, but he gathered the fact that his Jiji was giving him a lesson and strove to try and understand it. What are you suggesting, Jiji? As she is right now, Haruno Sakura is a genjutsu/mednin candidate. Sarutobi sighed, that is, if she lives past her first C rank, which is unlikely at the moment. Reading between the lines of the Academy reports, her taijutsu is just barely sufficient, her shurikenjutsu is adequate and her skill with genjutsu is impressive. Her chakra reserves are small and she continues to diet, reducing her physical energy compared to her mental energy. This also means she tires easily and thus cannot train for extended periods of time. Naruto was taken aback. Why was the Hokage sharing this with him? Because I have a solution to this problem and I need your help to execute it. The Hokage replied when he voiced this question. Despite her current issues, Haruno Sakura is someone who has the potential to be great. A genjutsu mistress, a great mednin, infiltration, there are many possibilities as to what she could be. Are you willing to help me help her? Of course. Naruto nodded. After all his Jiji had done for him, if he could repay him, all he had to do was ask. He saw several small windows appear out of the corner of his eye, but as none of them were a quest window, ignored them for now. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi said with a glimmer of pride in his eyes. Now, the situation is this. The person who was responsible for smashing your former apartment's window since you were 7 was a member of the Haruno clan, Haruno Isuka, who is Haruno Sakura's second cousin. Tomorrow after the academy, you will be called for a meeting with me, as well as Haruno Mabuki and Sakura in order to resolve the issue. This is what I would like you to do. Sarutobi outlined his plan and then asked if that would be alright with him. Do you think they'll accept it? Naruto asked doubtfully. Mabuki is not stupid. Sarutobi snorted. For one of her blood relatives to be caught doing this kind of petty crime is a deeply shameful thing. She will allow it so long as the matter goes no further than this and the matter is buried in the depths of the bureaucracy. Okay then. I'll help you out, Gigi. Naruto grinned, then forced himself not to jump as Nico appeared from nowhere with a cardboard box tucked under one arm. Hokage-sama, I discovered this box in a secret panel behind where Uzumaki-san's dresser used to be, the Umbu operative reported as she handed the box to Naruto. In addition, I would estimate that at least 3 people were responsible for the destruction of Uzumaki-san's property, although there is no clue as to who they were other than the urine on the decoy books Uzumaki-san left out. Decoys. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow at Naruto at this. My place has been broken into a couple of times before. Naruto replied uncomfortably. After the first time, I carved the secret panel out so whenever I left the apartment, no one other than an Umbu or a very thorough searcher could find anything I hid in it. Naruto opened the box to reveal his academy textbooks, a couple of photos of him when he was younger with the Hokage at Ichirika's, as well as the book on intermediate Heikage Taijutsu that he had been given by Iruka. I don't suppose my new clothes were spared? Naruto asked Nico, who shook her masked head. All your jumpsuits and new purchases were shredded to pieces. The Umbu replied, I am sorry, Uzumaki-san. It's okay. Naruto sighed, I'll just have to wash the set I have on every day. Wait, let me guess, my appliances are either stolen or broken beyond repair. An accurate guess, Uzumaki-san. Nico replied, there looked to have been gratuitous use of a crowbar or some similar blunt object. All have been smashed beyond reasonable repair. Sarutobi felt a growing anger at whomsoever had perpetrated this crime and resolved to put an Umbu team onto investigating it as soon as was feasible. I do believe this revelation upgrades Naruto-kun's status to critical. He said aloud, Nico, kindly inform the work crew at the former Umbu HQ that household appliances will also be required. Naruto-kun, I'll give you some money as emergency funds so you can buy some more clothes. You don't have to do this for me, Gigi. Naruto protested as the Umbu vanished again, I can handle myself. I do actually, it is under the guidelines for guardians of orphans. Sarutobi replied, even if it wasn't required, I'd still do it because I want you to be happy. I want you to be able to at least relax at home, if nowhere else. Moving you into the former Umbu HQ will help with that as it is still watched by a team of Umbu to make sure no one attempts to enter it to find secrets that might have been left behind after the HQ was moved. Gigi. Naruto smiled at his surrogate grandfather. Thank you. 2 hours later. Amekage Apartments. This is an odd set of apartments. Iruka deadpanned. He and Naruto were standing outside the blonde orphan's new home with scrolls full of new clothes, food, and other basic daily accessories secreted about their persons. The academy teacher had been furious when Naruto had told him what had happened to his home and was really tempted to aid the police in their investigation, but he managed to rein himself in and help Naruto with his shopping instead. Their trip to Higashi's was interesting. Tenten had just shaken her head when Naruto what had happened to his home and clothes before helping him pick out a rather nice wardrobe. He had also updated his address with her so she knew where to deliver his shoulder plate once her father returned from his trip. It had made Iruka quake with fury when Naruto had to use the henge in order to enter a grocery store without being thrown out, although the part of him that was a teacher appraised the skill with which Naruto used the basic jutsu. Now the teacher and student pair were eyeing the building that was Naruto's new home, and they were not all that impressed. The building was about the average height for an apartment building in Konoha and was a dirty gray color. It was run down, dirty, and the sign above the door had been plundered of a few letters. How much do you think orange paint is, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked thoughtfully. No, just no. Iruka said flatly, you are not painting this building orange. It's against the building codes. Naruto just looked at the teacher with an expression that screamed bullshit. Well, it isn't technically against regulations, but loud colors are strongly and strictly advised against. Iruka relented. Anyway, where is your apartment in this place? Same place as my old place, right at the top. Naruto replied and led his sensei into the building. The interior was better than the exterior, but not by much. The carpets in the corridors were worn, the wallpaper peeling off in places, and there was a slight smell of neglect in the air that made the pair's noses wrinkle in disgust. I really hope that the apartment is in better condition than the corridors are, Iruka remarked as they climbed the stairs. Gigi said he had people cleaning my new place up as we spoke. Naruto pointed out, that was over 2 hours ago. I think the apartment is probably all right, Iruka-sensei. At length, they reached the door of Naruto's new apartment and unlocked it. The two were very surprised to see the wooden floor of the central corridor gleaming like it had been freshly polished. The wallpaper, a plain cream color, was brand new, and the sweet smell of sandalwood tickled Naruto's nose. This is promising, he remarked to his sensei, who nodded. Both of them were impressed by the flat as they toured the place. It was slightly larger than Naruto's old place, and all of the furnishings were brand new and of high quality. The cooker, washing machine, and rice cooker were also brand new, and the cupboards were stuffed full of food and water. I think we're good, don't you think? Naruto asked with a smirk. It's a good thing I didn't bet against you, Iruka remarked with a sigh. Benton likes me. Naruto agreed. An hour later, after Iruka left, Naruto sat down and read the windows that had popped up while he had been talking with his Jiji. About 3 of them were the same. You diligently paid attention to the Hokage's lecture. Your WIS has gone up by 1. Damn. Looks like listening to Jiji is just as good as going to class. Naruto whistled. Now, what are these ones? You have impressed the Hokage with your analysis of team dynamics and personality analysis? Plus 100 reputation with Sarutobi Hiruzen? You have impressed the Hokage with your willingness to aid your fellow classmates? Plus 100 reputation with Sarutobi Hiruzen? Huh, not bad. He nodded before turning to the quest notification window that had popped up as soon as he closed the last of the other notifications. Quest alert. Tending the cherry blossom, Haruno Sakura is an Uchiha fangirl and is gravely neglecting her training. You have been given the chance to bring her to her senses and set her on the path of being a real kunoichi. Quest objective. Persuade Haruno Sakura and Haruno Mabuki to start Sakura down the path of a proper kunoichi. Quest completion reward. Plus 1000 EXP. Plus 750 reputation with Haruno Sakura. Plus 2000 Ryo. Quest failure. Plus 500 EXP. Accept. Y/N. Like I'm going to refuse. Naruto grumbled as he hit the Y button. Now then, let's be having that scroll. You have acquired the Doton, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn it? Y/N. Hell yeah. Naruto stabbed the button with his free hand and watched as the scroll dissolved into blue light and was absorbed into his body. Doton, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu, active, LV1, 00.00 EXP. The earth clone or rock clone technique is the most sturdy of the clone jutsu, save for the legendary Mokuton and its Moku Bunshin, requiring a solid hit in a critical location to destroy them. In addition, unlike the other elemental clones, if Iwa Bunshin is destroyed, it breaks into pieces of rock, which can be used for other Doton ninjutsu. Iwa Bunshin can only use non-elemental or Doton ninjutsu and is almost as strong as the user. Hand signs, Ram Monkey Horse Ram. When activated, the user spits out a rock, which is then shaped into a clone or clones of the user. The clone, S, will follow the orders of its creator. Iwa Bunshin have no mental stats and have the physical stats of the creator of them minus 20%. Minimum number that have to be created, 5. Maximum number that can be created, 10. Cost 75 CP/clone. Awesome. Naruto cheered. Let's try it out. Up on the roof. One of Naruto's favorite additions that this new apartment was connected to the roof via a door next to the kitchen. On the roof, there were empty flower beds that Naruto itched to plant something in, but restrained himself from doing so, for now, at least. Right then. The blonde muttered once he was out on the roof, Ram, monkey, horse, Ram, Doton, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto spat out a large rock, feeling like he was barfing up a watermelon, which split and turned into 5 exact copies of himself. Whoa. Naruto gaped at the sight of duplicates of himself standing in front of him. This is surreal. Try seeing it from the other side. One Iwa Bunshin retorted, we only have enough chakra to last an hour if we don't use any jutsu. Hey, I'm sorry that you're only a clone, but them's the breaks. Naruto shot back, how the hell are you even replying to me like this? Are Iwa Bunshin supposed to do this? How the hell would we know? Another Iwa Bunshin asked, we have your physical capabilities, not your knowledge of anything but Doton Jutsu, which is a single jutsu. You know we're lucky to even be able to use this jutsu at all. Naruto reminded his clones, the jutsu library at the academy doesn't have anything but E-rank jutsu, and none of them are elemental jutsu. The jutsu section of the actual library would be good, but we can't get in there without that crabby old lady throwing us out. This sucks. Another Iwa Bunshin grumbled. That's life. Naruto shrugged. By thinking deep thoughts, your WIS has gone up by 1. Shut up. Naruto growled as he closed the window. The next day, end of the academy day. Final year classroom. Haruno Sakura, Uzumaki Naruto. Nico said, appearing just after Iruka-sensei dismissed them for the day, your presences are required by the Hokage at once. What did you do for it? Ino Cat called. Nothing. Sakura retorted, Naruto Baka, what did you do? I did nothing. Naruto replied, a member of the Haruno clan broke the law, which is why we have been summoned. We'd better not keep Jiji waiting. Sighed along Shunshin again, Nico-san. This summons does require that method, I am afraid. Nico replied. Sighed along what now? Sakura asked as she came down to stand in front of the Umbu, more than slightly intimidated by the Black Ops kunoichi. Shunshin. As in Shunshin no Jutsu. Naruto explained as he moved next to her, you haven't eaten much today have you, Sakura-chan? No. The pinkette shook her head slowly as she replied pensively. Good. You might throw up otherwise. Nico said bluntly, hold still. She grasped their shoulders and made the three of them vanish in a large puff of chakra smoke. Upon reaching their destination, Sakura began to dry retch at the unfamiliar sensation of the shunshin. A hand rubbing soothing circles into her back made the faux vomiting sensation fade to nothing. The pinkette looked up to see a concerned Naruto looking at her before he removed his hand from her back. "You okay, Sakura-chan?" he asked. "Why yeah, that was really unpleasant though." Sakura replied, "Ugh, is that what it's like to use the shunshin no jutsu?" "No, merely the after effect of being side along shunshined." Nico replied, "This way please." Sakura then noticed they were in front of the Hokage Tower and hurried to follow the Umbu operative, Naruto trotting along in her wake. "What's this all about, Naruto?" Sakura asked, dropping the baka from his name in the seat of government of the Hidden Leaf Village. "You'll find out in a few minutes, Sakura-chan." Naruto replied easily, "I will say it is something that the Harano clan will find embarrassing." Sakura frowned. Naruto was being unusually evasive today. Any other day he would be falling over himself to tell her what was going on in order to impress her. Now that I come to think about it, he hasn't asked me out in, how long has it been? Sakura thought in mild shock, a couple of days, at least. Has he given up on me? Rather than the delight that she had thought she would feel at the prospect, she felt a pang of loss. Sakura was, contrary to her bold and brazen front, rather lacking in the self-confidence front. The frequent taunts and teasing by Ami and her clique regarding her forehead and pink hair as a child had only been made bearable by her friendship with Yamanaka Ino. Then, both of them had started crushing on Uchiha Sasuke and they had become rivals, constantly competing with each other for Sasuke's approval and affections. A small, but persistent, part of her railed at what she had done to her relationship with her best friend. Naruto chasing her had secretly been rather flattering for the pinkette. It had confirmed that yes, in spite of Sasuke's indifference, she was attractive and desirable. This made putting him down and smacking him when he got too persistent a little awkward for her. She had still done it, but every so often the guilt got to her and she had stoically endured his wooing of her in order to assuage it. Caught up in her thoughts, she only realized that they were in front of the Hokage's office when Nico knocked on the door. "Hokage-sama, I have brought Uzumaki Naruto and Harano Sakura, as ordered," Nico said as she entered before vanishing into thin air. Naruto and Sakura entered the office to see not only the Hokage as expected, but also Sakura's mother, Harano Mabuki, the head of the Harano clan. Tall, regal, with short-cut brown hair, and dressed in a red kimono with the white circle symbol of the Harano on the center of her back and over where her heart was, Mabuki was an intimidating sight. "What is going on here?" Sakura thought in frustration as she opened her mouth to greet her mother and the village leader. With Naruto. Naruto watched as Sakura bowed to his Jiji and greeted him respectfully before doing the same to her mother. "Hey Jiji," Naruto added in after she was done. "Good day, Harano-san." "Sakura. Uzumaki-san," Mabuki replied stiffly as she beckoned her daughter over to her side. Naruto walked over to the chairs opposite them and takes a seat as Sakura's mother continues to speak, irritation clear in her voice. "Now then Hokage-sama, the children are here, so could you kindly explain why you have summoned us all? I was in the middle of the monthly audit when your Umbu messenger entered my room and delivered your message." The Harano clan was a small civilian clan that had many mercantile interests, Naruto had been told by his Jiji the previous day. Smart and savvy, they had their fingers in a lot of pies throughout Hinokuni. Shops, caravans, auction houses, all bearing the circle crest of the Harano clan and taking a hefty share of the profits. They donated generously to the village, contributing 2% of its annual income, which was phenomenal for any civilian clan, let alone one that had less than 70 people in it. At approximately midnight the day before yesterday, Harano Isuka was discovered in the middle of attempting to smash Naruto-kun's window by members of Umbu set to discover who was responsible for the serial vandalism that was being visited upon Naruto-kun's apartment and she was taken into custody. Sarutobi said firmly, making both Mabuki and Sakura freeze in disbelief as the old man continued. Under questioning by Mitarashi Anko, she confessed to having been responsible for acts of harassment and vandalism against Naruto-kun going back 5 years. What kinds of vandalism? Mabuki choked pout, her face white. "She smashed my window once, perhaps twice a week for the last 5 years. Naruto answered for the Hokage. Recently she took to throwing rotting dog crap through my window as well." Ugh. Sakura wrinkled her nose at the thought. "I had her questioned again this morning based on something Naruto-kun mentioned to me yesterday," Sarutobi said softly, his eyes as hard as flint. "She confessed to organizing 2 groups of people to ransack Naruto-kun's apartment 3 and 4 years ago respectively. Under some pressure, she admitted to also organizing the gutting of Naruto-kun's apartment yesterday while he was at the academy. She had arranged it the previous day and has given us a list of people's names, of whom all are now in custody. So then, the charges are multiple counts of harassment, 3 counts of conspiracy to destroy private property, multiple counts of destruction of private property and 11 counts of littering, although those last ones are non-incremental charges and are thus not included for any reason other than how much damage Harano Isuka has done. The faces of the two members of the Harano clan were a picture of a mixture of different emotions. Sakura was shocked, horrified, and dismayed by what her cousin had perpetrated, while Mabuki's face was seemingly blank and unemotional. It would have fooled anyone were it not for the fact that her emerald green eyes were sparking with panic, fear, and anger. She knew of Naruto's burden and had cautioned Sakura to be careful around him. Mabuki had known the Yondaime Hokage and trusted his skill with the little-known art of Fuinjutsu completely, so she knew that Naruto was not the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Still, being careful around him wasn't a bad precaution. Sarutobi Hiruzen had made it known 12 years ago that he would come down like a ton of bricks on anyone found to have harassed or attacked Naruto in a way that wasn't a taijutsu spar or playground antics, so proven when half a dozen civilians got thrown in jail for throwing stones at him when he had been 4. Now one of her clan had been proven to have orchestrated a campaign of intimidation and harassment against the boy all of Konoha knew he considered to be his surrogate grandson, and Harano Mabuki was dreading the consequences of that foolish girl Isuka's actions. Naruto-kun never told me about the constant harassment because he didn't want to cause me trouble, Sarutobi said, casting an amused yet stern look at his favorite orphan. I have since talked to him about that and he assures me that any future incidents will be reported promptly from here on out. The question now is what to do about Isuka and the backlash of this incident on the Harano clan. This was what Mabuki was dreading. The shinobi clans of Konoha may put on an indifferent facade to the world regarding one Uzumaki Naruto, but they made their displeasure known at any mistreatment he suffered. When he had been thrown out of the orphanage at the age of 5, an unknown buyer had bought the orphanage from Konoha and had fired all of the staff, replacing them with ex-shinobi who were strict, but firm with kids. Everybody knew it had been a shinobi clan that was responsible, but no one knew which one. The Harano clan depended on hiring Konohagakure shinobi to guard their caravans and supply shipments. If the clans heard about Isuka's foolishness, the Harano might never be able to hire shinobi as guards again, which would force them to hire mercenaries, who were unreliable and far more expensive per man than a shinobi. What is your judgment, Hokage-sama? She asked shakily. Naruto-kun, what do you think? Sarutobi asked his surrogate grandson, who looked thoughtful. It depends on the answer to a couple of questions, I think. Naruto replied before turning to the Harano clan head. Did you know about what Isuka-san was doing to me, Harano-san? No, Mabuki replied tightly. Had I been aware, I would have put a stop to it and disciplined Isuka firmly. Sakura-chan. Naruto asked as he turned to his pink-haired crush. I had no idea. She told him honestly. I would have told Oka-san if I knew. Fair enough. Naruto nodded, before looking at the Hokage. Hokage-sama, I don't think letting Isuka-san's crimes known would be a good idea. The Harano clan had nothing to do with Isuka-san's actions. Very well, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi nodded, making the two Harano sag with relief. However, they should have been more aware of their relatives' actions, so they must be penalized for that. Isuka-san is a failed genin candidate and the Harano don't exactly have a clan compound. Naruto pointed out, for all we know she lives by herself. Except she doesn't, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi replied, she lives next door to Mabuki and Sakura's home. The Harano have their own guards patrolling the area, who should have reported any odd movements by a clansman to Mabuki. So long as the shinobi clans know not to repudiate the Harano clan from their lists of clients, I agree to a punishment. Mabuki said stoically, praying that it would not cripple her clan. Naruto-kun, would you care to declare the punishment for the Harano clan? Sarutobi offered. Isuka's punishment has already been decided upon. She will be fined 10,000 ryo, payable to Naruto-kun in installments, as well as being banned from leaving the village for any reason for the next year, nor may she enter into any contracts on her own name for an equal length of time. She will also be required to check in with her clan leader once a day to give in an itinerary of where she plans on going in the village, why and how long she will take to go there and return. Mabuki winced at that. A financial penalty, house arrest inside the village, reduced to the level of an indentured servant, as well as being forced to outline her day's destinations, reasons for traveling and duration to Mabuki every single day for the next year? Harsh, but more lenient than she had been expecting. Well, Naruto frowned in thought. Sakura-chan's the smartest person in class. Even Suzuki team has to admit that. How about she helps me with the theory work until graduation without pay for 2 hours a day after class, in addition to being forbidden to diet. I need to diet otherwise I'll get fat. Sakura protested. No, you don't. Nico informed her as the Umbu stepped out of the shadows, making the civilians jump in shock. My apologies, but I cannot keep quiet at this juncture. No one who walks the path of the shinobi needs to diet. The regular training and exercises that shinobi undertake see to that. Eat a balanced diet, yes, But do not cut down on the amount of food you eat. It prevents your body from growing properly and makes you useless in training. Uzumaki-san could easily beat you in a taijutsu spar just by outlasting you. But Sakura looked on the edge of protesting again until Naruto interrupted her. Care for me to prove it, Sakura-chan? He asked calmly, leaving the girl speechless. I don't think that is necessary, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi interjected. I will say to you, Sakura-chan, that Nico is absolutely correct. Dieting is unnecessary for any shinobi. Now, will you accept Naruto-kun's punishment of your daughter serving as his private tutor for the next 7 months in lieu of any fines or other punishments? Mabuki had known that the blonde Jinchuriki had a crush on her daughter and wasn't really surprised he had manipulated things so he could spend time with her. What had puzzled her was why he was insisting on her not dieting. When the Umbu Nico had decreed that shinobi didn't need to diet and been backed up by the Hokage himself, she had figured it out. He was worried. Worried that Sakura's dieting could cripple her career as a kunoichi, cut it short on a mission, and wanted to do something to stop it from getting that far. He simply wanted to help the girl he had a crush on to survive in the world she chose to enter. I agree with the punishment and accept on behalf of my daughter. Mabuki inclined her head slightly. Would tomorrow be acceptable to begin her tutoring sessions? More than acceptable, Harino-san. Naruto replied with a small bow. Okay, Aa-san. Sakura yelped. Enough, Sakura. Mabuki ordered. This is an exceptionally generous offer which prevents the Harino clan from being disgraced by the actions of a single rogue member. I will explain everything to you once we return home, but keep your peace for the moment. Sakura quietened down and frowned. Feeling Naruto's gaze on her, she looked into his clear blue eyes. They were unapologetic at what he had just wrought and had a pleading quality to them, begging her to accept that what had been done was for her own good. Geez, he really is too much, she thought with a mental sigh. Smiling crookedly at him, she nodded slightly in acquiescence and was treated to the sight of him perking up slightly at the sign that she didn't hate him. Sarutobi, Nico, and Mabuki noticed this small byplay and swiftly concealed any grins that arose because of it. Not that Nico actually needed to. What with the mask and all. Once the two Harino women leave, Sarutobi nods at Naruto approvingly and says, very well done, my boy. It helped that Nezumi-san was holding idiot boards above their heads so I could read them. Naruto replied dryly. A bashful Nezumi appeared with a stack of cardboard rectangles tucked under his arm and muttered, they're called placards. Still, you did well to read them without alerting Sakura and Mabuki to the fact they were there. Sarutobi smirked as he added, even although Nezumi almost dropped one on Sakura-chan's head. Naruto stayed to chat with his surrogate grandfather for a few minutes before heading off, the windows that only he could see floating around him. Double timing it back to his apartment, Naruto whizzed up the stairs and into his room so he could get through the notices from his gamer ability quickly and without people wondering why he was making odd waving notions in midair. Sitting down at his kitchen table, he turned his attention to the first one as he waited for his cup ramen to cook. Damn these 3-minute waiting times. Your kindness bears fruit. Plus 50 reputation with Harino Sakura? If this was the first one, oh, the back rub? Who knew that back rubs were a way to make girls like you more? Go figure. Your mercy becomes you? Plus 500 reputation with Harino Mabuki? Mercy? Oh, not giving them a harsh punishment. Naruto realized, right. What's next? You have received Harino Sakura as a private tutor? Plus 100 relationship with Harino Sakura per every 5 sessions with her and plus 1 int and WIS for every 2 sessions you use to hit the books and listen to her teach you? Hell yeah. Naruto fist pumped at that. Congratulations. Tending the cherry blossom quest complete? You have started to turn Sakura from the wrong path and have even started to get closer to her? Nicely done. Quest completion reward, plus 750 reputation with Harino Sakura, plus 1000 EXP, plus 2000 Ryo. Alright. This means I only need 700 more reputation with her to get to a neutral relationship with her. Naruto cheered, this rocks. Quest alert. Long-term quest, a cherry blossom in full bloom. You are at the start of a proper relationship with Harino Sakura. Slowly build it up with her and you will meet your goal. Quest objective, successfully woo, romance and seduce Harino Sakura, eventually making her your girlfriend. Quest completion reward, Sakura as your girlfriend. Quest failure, friend-zoned. Accept. Y/N. Again, like I'd say no. Naruto hit the Y button just before his egg timer rang, signaling that his cup ramen was ready. Itadakimasu.